Welcome, everybody. I'm pleased to welcome you to the Team BC and Team Canada Athlete Pathway discussion. This is really focusing in on one of our first major projects as a all-star provincial team. That's a bit of an antiquated description, but essentially we're moving away from the club-based team model going to a national championships to a selected team going to national championships. As part of that evolution, Football Canada is doing the same thing. And so we will now have a U16 and a U18 national team that will go away to various competitions. So that's kind of the main premise of this call. So there's a rough agenda for you. We're going to give you a bit of a background on where we're at today. The target athlete pool for the U16, U18 program, the senior pathway, I'm going to skip because I don't think there's anybody on from the call, and I can do that at the end of the call if anybody's on from the adult program. The U6, there is a bit of information in there I might touch on just because if you're 18 today, won't surprise any of you that in 6 years' time you'll be 24. And in 6 years' time, it's 2032. And in 2032, you should expect to see flag football at the Brisbane Olympics. So for the slightly older group that's on the call, that should be on your radar if you're interested in an elite flag. So we're going to do the U16, U18 pathway. There's a few areas to cover there, and then we'll talk about that pathway through to Team Canada, representing Team Canada on the international stage. I'm happy to look for questions in the messages, but probably the best thing for us to do is to get through to the end. If you can make a note of your question and we can answer them all at the very end. That's the preferred way. But if you really need to come off mic and ask a question, please feel free to do so. Okay, the background. So flag football, as many of you, if not all of you will know, is now an Olympic sport. We will certainly be in LA in 2028, and you should definitely expect to be in Brisbane in 2032. The NFL, and the specific reason we should probably feel confident with that. The NFL has invested an awful lot of money into the Brisbane event already. So along with their plans for global domination in the world of football, you can see why the Olympics is very important to them. So 2032 sounds like a great place to go, Brisbane. So for those of you targeting that, that would be one of the reasons we're having this call. Most recently, towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, we signed an agreement, an athlete development agreement with the CFL. We've always had great partnerships with the BC Lions, but now there's a bit more of a formalization of that relationship, and they're going to be involved in the athlete development system. So that's taking shape now, but we've signed the agreements, and they've agreed to provide a little bit of funding for us over the next 5 years. The same thing's happening at Football Canada level with their CFL agreement. So it's going to be a consistent group of partners all the way through to from provincial to national level. National coaches for senior teams have been selected. So if you're in the system and going to an event in Kingston, you'll expect to run across them because they're looking for their next group of athletes. They've got a busy year ahead. They're selecting for World Championships this year and then hopefully making and qualifying for the Olympics at this year's World Championships, and then moving on and starting to look at the pathway through U16 through to senior. National junior and U16 and U18 coaches are currently being interviewed, and same thing at the Team BC level. We've just started recruiting for the Team BC coaches. Team Canada has started a nationwide selection process for all teams, and we'll get into some of that detail on this call. And most recently, obviously, flag football has been added as an NCAA sport for the female athletes, so which is great. I would also say that it's a reasonable expectation that that will continue through for the men at some point, especially post the 2028 Olympics. Target athlete pool. So you should be, if you're interested in what we're talking about tonight, in the year of birth 2009 or 2012. Those athletes are eligible to go to National Elite Championships in Kingston. So you should be players wishing to compete at the National Flag Championships, players wishing to be scouted, selected to represent Canada because part of that is going to happen at the event in Kingston, players wishing to represent Canada at the International Junior Cup. So for players selected, they'll be participating in that event in June. And players targeting long-term selection to Team Canada for IFAF World Championships. There's a Continental Championships. I know that a couple of provinces are going to be bidding to host the IFAF Continental Championships. IFAF, so just sort of using jargon there. IFAF is actually our world governing body for flag for football, both tackle and flag. In other sports, it's the equivalent of Hockey Canada or FIFA, if you're more familiar with those sports. The same thing for World Hockey or World Volleyball. So there also, as I mentioned earlier, the 2032 Olympic Games. If you're on the older age of the age group, you're looking at that as a potential opportunity. And people and for the female athletes on the call looking to go to NCAA university in a few years. This is the national pathway, and we're at stage one this weekend for the senior teams. Again, I'm not going to go into this because there's no adults on the call. So our provincial ID camps are happening for both senior and youth. Senior one is this weekend, and our national identification camps for U16, U18 will be at the event in Kingston. I'm going to skip through this. This is going to be published, by the way. And I just remembered I forgot to do one more thing, and I'm going to press record. Or no, it already started recording, didn't it, Carrie? Maybe. I think it did. So I'm just going to, again, like I said, skip through the senior ID camp, and now we're at the U16, U18 pathway. So this is actually on the Football Canada website. And you can see we are at provincial ID camps, which is what we're doing now. And then it's going to go all the way through to Chula Vista training camp and then on to international competition. That's available on the Football Canada site, and it'll be we'll send out this PowerPoint to you all, so you'll have that map. And if you want to go to the Football Canada website, it's there as well. So where we're at right now is that this is part of having this call is to give you all information so you can evaluate whether you would be interested in being part of Team BC this year. You may be aware we have a Team BC program on the tackle side of things. So we run a U16, U17, U18 tackle program. We started a girls U16 tackle program last year. So it's going into its second year, and we'll also be starting a U18 Indigenous tackle program. But really, this is about flag for us, and this is a brand new program pretty much across Canada. Across Canada, provincial teams have been club teams that qualify to go to nationals. So this is the big change over here. Some of the provinces did this last year. So we're going to be most likely early April. We're going to be hosting Team BC identification camps at McLeod Stadium in Langley for 4 different teams: U16 female, male and female, U18 male and female too. So 4 different teams. Squad size would be 10 to 12 with a couple of coaches. So we'd probably be a traveling party of 14 per team. The purpose of forming these teams is to compete at the 2026 Elite National Flag Championships in Kingston, Ontario. The event's going to be hosted at Queen's University. So it's May 15th to the 17th, so it's coming up. So we're going to be moving very quickly here. So that's on the Victoria Day long weekend. So you've got an extra day of travel that weekend to play with as a family. As I said, Kingston, Ontario. I've decided to add an E to the end of Kingston, I think. I don't think there's supposed to be an E there. But I guess it's a Queen University. We've calculated, and I just want to caveat this with the world chaos that's happening right now. Flights may be quite volatile. We'll have to wait and see. But between $1,670 and $1,966 subject to flight costs for this project. And I've got an itinerary that I'll go over with you. That includes return flights, accommodation in university dorms, meals, uniforms, and return coach between Toronto Airport and the accommodation at Queen's University. We're going to be conducting additional fundraising through at least one of these, but possibly both, which is the online 50/50. So there's if you've gone to a Canucks game, or if you're a rugby sevens this past weekend, you'll be aware of the online 50/50 program. How we be able to operate it is any participant in the program would sell raffle tickets, and 40% of the proceeds of that raffle ticket sale would go to fundraise for the athlete. So you sell $100 worth of tickets, $50 goes to the prize winner, 10% goes in credit card processing fees and fees to the organizing company called Rafflebox, and then the final 40 goes to the athlete. Vertical Raise is a new program Carrie's been working on, and essentially, if you remember the entertainment books, any of you as old as me, it's a fundraising through specific companies that give discounts and have subscriptions, and anybody signing off to that, 70% of the profits goes to the athlete again. So we're trying to offset the cost of the program through active fundraising. This is a breakdown. Again, I'm going to send you all this so you'll have the exact number and how I've calculated it. So that's just taking the top level numbers of between $1,670 and almost $2,000, and you can see the math there. I'll leave that for you I'll email this all to you as soon as the call's over, by the way. And with the different airlines, Flair, Porter, Air Canada, or WestJet. Rough itinerary for the event is heading out of here on Wednesday. Obviously, with the time delay, we don't get in till later on the Wednesday early evening in Toronto. Thursday, Thursday there would be a coach at the university for any travel, but we would be practicing. Actually, my date's wrong there. So we would arrive Wednesday night and get a airport coach to the accommodation, and then on the Thursday we would actually be training. So we will leave Wednesday, arrive Wednesday, and that's wrong there. It's still Wednesday, May 14th, not Thursday, May 14th, and we would be practicing during the day. Friday is the first day of competition, National Championships. May 16th is National Championships games, and then day 3 is National Championship. So Sunday, May 17th is the Team Canada evaluations, which is by invitation. So the players would be evaluated over the 3 days of competition. And in that evening, late afternoon, evening, they will participate in a Team Canada camp if they're selected. Monday the 18th, we would coach to Toronto, to downtown Toronto, or depending on the flight, we would also have a sightseeing day in Toronto City. For the athletes that are selected to go to the Team Canada camp, so they'll be invited to the evaluations with the Team Canada camp staff, and then a team will be selected in the 4 different age groups, U16, U18. So there will be 4 junior Canada teams. So their language is junior. Sometimes that's called youth, but it is not junior football, as they say. It is very much youth football, U16 to U18. So 4 teams, 2 boys teams, 2 girls teams, 2 women, 2 boys, male. They will go to Chula Vista, the selected teams. So 12 to 15 athletes from across Canada. It's the Olympic Training Center. It's down at the southern part of California, right on, not that far away from the border of Mexico. The Team Canada Junior Project will feature the 4 teams. They'll travel June 13th to 17th. They'll train at the Chula Vista Training Center. I've been there. It's an amazing facility. The 2026 Junior International Cup will then follow, and the teams will follow that itinerary there Wednesday. They'll arrive at the event venue. And if you type in International Junior Cup into YouTube, you can see quite a lot of videos from different sources for flag football from 2024 and 2025. Thursday practices, Friday practices and games, Saturday games, Sunday games, and departure. The Junior International Cup was started a few years ago by USA Football, and it had become an annual event. They have slightly different age categories, 15U and 17U, so it's 15U, not 16U. So it's the similar age groups, it's just their nomenclature, not ours. And it really is a showcase event. So this is games against the USA or Japan and all the international teams. So it's a national federation event, not club. National teams compete to prove which emerging nation is the best by gathering the top junior flag athletes from across the globe each year to compete for the gold medal. That is the formal part of the presentation.